To my fellow patriots and all the ships at sea, all I could say is goodbye, Kamala. We don't hate to see you go. Listeners of Rally for the Republic, I say congratulations to you. You did it. You made history. Real history. The kind that will be studied for decades. Because if you listen to this show, Rally for the Republic, you're part of the solution. You helped to make sure Donald J. Trump is the 47th president of the United States. But unfortunately, at 4 p.m. yesterday, we find out that the left is not done with the fight. I'm your host, Bryan Rudnick. We're going to do a deep dive into how America took back our republic and the fight ahead right after the break.
This is a battle cry for the American way of life and a relentless pursuit of truth and justice. It comes from a voice with unmatched experience and unyielding resolve. Join us as we dissect current events and tip the scales in your favor. This is Rally for the Republic with your host, Bryan Rudnick.
Folks, this is Bryan Rudnick. As usual, I'm broadcasting from the free state of Florida, and I'm going to say what needs to be said, and quite frankly, what we proved on Tuesday night. As Florida goes, so goes the nation. 295 electoral college votes and increasing. 72,647,690 popular votes and growing. Over 36 states won. 52 Republican members of the U.S. Senate. We took back the majority, and it looks like we'll take back the House too. This is not just a mandate. This is practically a 100% rejection of the Biden-Harris administration, folks. A rejection of the weak, commie, socialist, pinko, woke, and whack job policies that Kamala, AOC, and others like them tried to force on America. You know, like the green energy policies, the gender transition for kids, wide open borders, benefits for illegals while the veterans are homeless. And of course, now the infamous gender transitions for the illegal aliens. Let's not forget how they told us that the fate of our republic was dependent on their ability to murder babies in the womb. They campaigned hard and heavy on this topic. Articles are now coming out detailing how liberal operatives duped their donors into believing it was the most essential and most important issue of this election. So let's talk about how this issue benefited them. Headline from the liberal media outlet Axios from yesterday afternoon reads, okay, this is a spoiler alert, abortion initiatives didn't help Harris. While some voters care about the issue, they don't see Harris as their champion in the cause. They banked on using this issue to the tune of over $160 million to get her over the top, and it backfired. Here's what Axios said. In early polls, roughly 14% of voters said abortion was the most important issue for their vote, consistent with pre-election polling that found 1 in 8 voters ranked abortion as their top concern. You remember I told you in prior episodes, America doesn't really care about that. It's just a leftist ploy to distract conservatives. It's just like their desire to divide the country over race. Kamala's race baiting and her attempts to convince minorities that Trump and the GOP were racist has a boomerang, or I should say it had a boomerang effect. And when you want to look at this election by the numbers, Trump's victory was astonishing. Okay, both the sweep and the score. All but 2 states, Washington and Utah, went more heavily from Trump on Tuesday than in 2020. That's from the Financial Times. And NBC's exit poll says Trump was backed by a remarkable 1 in 3 voters of color. He improved over his 2020 performance among voters younger than 30, black voters and Hispanic voters. Remember, I've told you before, politics is about the numbers. Where are you going to get the votes from? If your candidate doesn't resonate with voters, if they can't reach out and they can't convince a set of voters to vote for them, you're not going to get the votes from where you need them. And that's what it's all about. When we strategists are planning We're planning based on the numbers. What precinct, what people, what population, what demographic, what gender. That's what it's all about. And Trump got it and Kamala didn't. Biden won Latino men by 23 points in 2020. According to CNN, Trump won them by 10 points this year. Others say it's a 25-point gain compared to 2020, by the way. And he delivered, I'm saying Trump delivered Latino men by a 10-point margin after losing them to Biden by more than 20. And in places like Starr County, Texas, he got 97% of the Latino vote. I guess these are Latino people who don't care about the Puerto Rico comment, and they're definitely not turned off by strong border policies because they're probably being impacted by weak border policies. So Kamala and her leftist allies thought they would scare every black and brown person into casting a vote against Donald Trump. Not for her, but against Donald Trump. And in the end, thankfully, America did not fall for her fake and phony facade. Onion layers got peeled back, probably not enough, but everybody seems to have realized, at least 74 million and more of us, that her New Way Forward slogan was just an empty suit, more false platitudes from the Democrat Party. Okay, a party that has been lying to minorities for over 6 decades. And like I've said in prior episodes, when you watch Kamala, her body tells you everything you need to know. Their body language, those facial expressions, not just the cackling. This so-called bologna sandwich, Kamala Harris for the people, she was for herself. She had no plan for the people, and the people sniffed out the bullshit. 74 million of us sniffed out the bullshit. Or as I explained to a liberal family member who's for the last less than 48 hours now has been harassing me about the election because his Trump derangement syndrome is on level 2,000 out of 1,000. And he's trying to tell me about Trump's guilty of sexual abuse. There's generals who work for him that thinks he's a tyrant. His former chief of staff is against him. He stole classified documents and brought them to Mar-a-Lago. And, you know, it keeps going on and on and on. I'm sure you know people like this, okay? And he's claiming Trump is just a crook and Biden is so honorable that he allowed his DOJ to go prosecute Hunter. So I finally, after getting inundated with these ridiculous text messages, I had to respond. My wife wished I didn't, but I did. I said, you have no idea what you're referencing. The generals, name them. Are they upset that they don't get to go to war anymore? Are they upset that they're like losing a job in the defense industrial complex? And let's talk about Biden's son. Let's see if between now and January of next year, Biden doesn't pardon him. Because so far, as people know, Hunter is getting a free pass. The crimes that Hunter has committed, especially the gun crime, would have had him in jail already if his name was anything other than Biden. And there's those rap stars and other people who've gone to jail over this crime. And they came out and they said, boy, talk about hypocrisy. And then I reminded him on the economy, he's wrong. And I said to him, inflation, 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 just like you rally for the Republic listeners have heard me talk about. Because I should be making more money, you should be making more money, but inflation is causing people to spend less because everything costs more. So really, you're buying a product like a box of cereal and you're getting less quantity even though you're spending more. So you're not spending it on luxuries. You're not spending it on vacation. You're not spending it on things you'd like to because you're barely able to get by because you're spending more money but getting less for it. And whether or not they want to claim it's true, that is the perception that we Americans have. And that's why we voted the way we did, because we perceive there to be an economic problem in this country. The left wants us to think that Trump is evil. They got it in their minds, their Trump derangement syndrome, that Trump is evil. And they wanted you, like them, like they are, like Kamala's every speech, to be against Donald Trump. Nothing was for you to be for. They didn't tell you to be for anything. They didn't tell you to fight for something. They told you to fight against Donald Trump, a man who practically gave it up, gave everything, even got shot in the face and still kept going. Donald Trump gave us something to be for. And it's just like I tell my staff, okay? It's when we run campaigns, when we do work for candidates and causes, whether they're nonprofit causes, PACs, candidates, you name it, even the clients in the commercial sector that I work for. When you are persuading a consumer, when you're persuading an audience to take an action, donate, vote, buy, whatever it is, you've got to persuade people. Okay? And you've got to persuade them with a fundamental principle that you understand them so that the recipient of the message, the marketing that occurs in politics or otherwise, you have to answer a question, a very, very important question. Why should I care? Kamala and the left failed to answer that question. That's why she and so many of her friends will find themselves in the unemployment line soon. Or will they? Well, I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to talk more about that specific topic. Swollen limbs, joint pain, inflammation, skin aging, and cognitive decline. These are just a few of the awful side effects that you can experience due to poor blood circulation. To make matters worse, it is highly unlikely your blood circulation will correct itself on its own, which means your health issues will only continue to decline as you age. And popping ibuprofen isn't a solution to your pain. It's only temporary relief, and it's only masking the true problem, which is inflammation. Right now, you can go to getkrill.com/rally to learn more and get a free shipping offer, a special free shipping offer just for being a listener of Rally for the Republic. The omega-3 content from krill oil has been shown to support healthy blood pressure, circulation, brain health, as well as reduce inflammation, swelling, and joint pain. Benefits go on, and it doesn't have the dangerous side effects ibuprofen does. Just go to getkrill.com/rally right now to get your special offer.
You are listening to Rally for the Republic with your host, Bryan Rudnick.
Bryan Rudnick, and you're listening to not only the 50th episode of Rally for the Republic, but the election celebration episode. You should have a smile on your face. You should be on cloud nine. You should be jumping for joy. Why? You know why. Because America did not buy what Kamala and the Democrat Party were selling. And if you listen to this show, you knew that would be the case, because I discussed it ad nauseum on prior episodes, whether they were prior episodes with me talking to you or the prior episodes with the great guests we've had. And the results of the 2024 election prove it. Because like 2016, we, the people here listening to Rally for the Republic and our community, we understand what even the pollsters still cannot get right. We understand because we are right-thinking Americans. We have a gut instinct. We have a North Star. We have values. And they told us the truth. Donald Trump gave us the motivation to vote for something, the motivation to want to fight for the American dream, to continue to rally for this great republic, to want to fix it. And he took a bullet for you and me, and he kept going like he was the Energizer Bunny. And when he said he'd fight for America, America believed him. And when Kamala said she'd fight for the people, they couldn't find the Americans to vote for her. No wonder why the left has been fighting so hard to prevent us from asking for IDs when people go to vote. Let that sink in for a bit. They can't get people to vote for them, so they gotta emigrate the people into this country to have them vote. They don't want you to see their IDs because, as some people are pointing out online, look at the numbers of this election compared to 2020, and the concerns of voter irregularities are still abound, and rightfully so. But I digress, because Donald Trump has now promised us a new golden age, a golden era for America. But at 4 p.m. yesterday or thereabouts, Kamala came out, went to Howard University finally, and she made what she is calling a concession speech right after she made a point to call Trump earlier in the day and concede to him. But true to form with Kamala Harris, her so-called public concession speech, like every prior speech she has given in this election, demonstrated that she is still out of touch and out of tune when it comes to messaging. Kamala's own words, while I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. This woman is so out of touch that after spending months claiming Trump was a threat to democracy, she practically opened the doors of the White House to him and practically offered him a tour of it. But she stood on her high horse once again yesterday after taking an ass kicking that will go down as all ass kickings of American history. And this leftist elitist, this left coast elitist, cackles more, and her elitism has now made her an international celebrity. Oh, wait, has it made her a loser? That's right. She couldn't even lose gracefully because she lectured Donald Trump. She lectured the American people, and she wants us to think that she's like Richard Nixon and you're not going to kick her anymore. But unfortunately, she told us she ain't leaving. She can't get over. She and her gal pals and the sorority girls, they're not leaving. She's going to be here to continue the fight that fueled the campaign. Her campaign team says she's staying in the fight. They put out a letter about it to the rest of the staff, and then she gave that ridiculous thing she calls a concession speech. And then the journalists are bantering about how she could be the next governor of California, or there's talk that she will eventually be a justice on the U.S. Supreme Court. You want to talk about scary. So here's my observations, okay? This is a woman who didn't have the decency to get out there on Tuesday night to address her supporters. She continues to prove what I've been saying for months and months about her poor leadership style. And if you've been listening to Rally for the Republic, you've heard me do just a few episodes on that and a few segments on that topic. She sent out a low-level campaign functionary, calling him campaign co-chair, whatever he is. He's a former member of Congress, okay? And he was in the Biden White House, and they sent him out to address the crowd. Now, this is not a face that the American public knows. This is not a face that anybody was familiar with outside of the inner circles of campaign leadership. So you disrespect your supporters so much, you can't even send them out a face they recognize. Not Dougie, not some other member of Congress that they know. Nobody else, not even Kamala herself, the queen bee, could not go on stage to show respect for her own supporters while she cried in a corner. She got her ass kicked, let's face it. But somehow this woman, with her lack of class, her lack of dignity, her lack of respect for her own supporters, feels that she has the right to lecture Donald Trump, okay? And that she's going to continue to fuel the fight or continue the fight that fueled this campaign, whatever the ridiculous word salad they conjured up. So let's remember the facts, people, because our friends in the left right now, they got tears in their beers, and somebody is going to need to remind them of what happened, because some people are blaming Biden. They're blaming George Clooney for kicking them out. They forget that Michelle and Mrs. Obama were behind it all. But the only fight that was fueled was the fight to get rid of Joe Biden, who, by the way, she underperformed against his numbers. This is a power-hungry woman. You might want to use the B word. All she has done, she has made a career out of stepping over other people. She's not for the people. She's for stepping over the people. And this is what happened again. And for the first time in her life, it finally backfired. Kamala and her sorority sisters and the idiots and the white dudes for Kamala who were helping her are probably not going to learn anything from this. But you and me and those of us who love this country, we got work to do. Because if you spent the time, the money, the blood, the sweat, trying to get Donald Trump back in the White House, trying to take back Congress, trying to take back this republic, I'm congratulating you. But you need to understand, you have only survived Act 3 of this 5-act Shakespearean play. There's 2 things you've got to do in Act 3. So make sure you pay attention. First, it is your responsibility to hold Donald Trump and the Republican Party accountable. Now, you might be saying to me, Brian, what are you talking about? We intentionally went out of our way, worked hard, blood, sweat, tears, the whole 9 yards to get these people elected. But one of the lessons I have learned for nearly 30 years in politics, I'll point you to the George W. Bush administration as a prime example, is it is our job to make sure that the people we put in office do not get distracted. You cannot allow them to succumb to the influence of the media, who they're going to want to fall in love with. The media is going to feign support for them. And they're going to want to fall in love and friendly and the leaks and all that garbage that happens in Washington. And then there's the deep state that will try to get their claws in them. And then there's the establishment that will also try to get their claws in them with K Street and beyond, and the influence of money and the influence of power. Okay. And all these people who are dying to have jobs in the administration or on Capitol Hill to have that power, to have that influence. We sent them there to do a job, and we need to make sure that the commitment they made to conservative principles, to secure the border, to cut taxes, to cut unnecessary regulations, to make our military the best fighting force in the world, it is our job to hold them accountable because they promised to keep our communities safe, get rid of the fentanyl, and support the police. No double talk should be tolerated. No double standards should be tolerated. We have the majority. The conservatives are in charge. Now it's time to make it all happen. You've got to remember, if you are a patriot who fought to put these people in office, you donated to them, you volunteered for them, you spoke to your liberal friends about them, you got somebody off the couch and made sure they cast a ballot or 10, it doesn't matter. You need to remind these people at every chance you get, do not accept anything less from them just because they have an R next to their name. These people need to be reminded because they're going to be coming back to you, asking for support in these coming months, in the next 24 months, the next 4 years. And every month and every day from now, the next 24 months, you can be assured that most, if not all of them, will be coming to ask you for money. You need to make sure they earn it. You need to make sure they deserve it. And that only happens if they deliver on the promises they made to us. That's the power of we the people. We don't have to be lectured by them like Kamala tried to do. We the people need to hold them accountable and remind them that the power still lies with us. They made a promise. They better deliver. Now, the second thing, and it's just as important, they go hand in hand in glove, however you want to say it, but it's really important. Donald Trump, as we know, the experience of Donald Trump since the moment he came down that escalator at Trump Tower, okay, the knives have been out for him. And what they have done, they, the left, the establishment, the deep state, Joe Biden and his posse, the Obamas and their posse, the Clintons and their posse, you name it, they have been out doing everything and anything. The Republican Party hasn't even thought of half of these things when we were going after Bill Clinton or Barack Obama. And I was part of those resistance movements. So I can tell you, these things were not happening even as close, even with the impeachments. Okay, what they have done to Donald Trump. And the man keeps going, which says so much about his character that they can't seem to understand. And I have friends texting me before the show going, what's it going to take to get the left to understand and get over their hypocrisy and things like that? I'm going to address some of this here. But for you, my Republican and conservative friends, my patriots, my solemn listeners here at Rally for the Republic, you need to understand that while we're holding the GOP accountable to get the job done, we have to help them get the job done. Now, the left is not giving up. Kamala made that clear. There will be a resistance movement, and they are going to do what they have to obstruct and resist, okay? And Lord knows whatever else they're going to try to do, like they did in his first term. And if you want the GOP to fulfill the promise and to succeed at fulfilling the promise, we are going to have to be part of the army that fends off the attacks. We are going to have to be part of the army that stops Kamala and the left because they aren't even giving Trump a day. Not one day. Not, oh, let's have kumbaya, let's unify the country. She'll say that under one breath. And the other side of her mouth is talking about continuing the fight that fueled the campaign. Of course, she doesn't obviously have a history book to remind her that she fueled the campaign to get power, not to defeat Donald Trump. They're not giving him even a day right now. The man is there at Mar-a-Lago trying to piece together an administration, a transition, a future for this country, how to reverse the damage done by the Biden-Harris administration. They're not giving him a day. They're not giving him a day, which means they're not going to give him a week. They're not going to give him a month. They're not going to give him the first 100 days that every administration gets. No, there'll be no calls for unity by the left. They're back in war mode. So we have to be back in war mode too. You wipe off the dust of the election, you take a day or two to relax, you get back on the horse, and you get back on offense when needed. If we have to be on defense until they strike, so be it. But you be ready to be on offense, because Kamala and the left are not even giving Donald Trump a day, okay? And if we did that to them, you know they would call us insurrectionists. That would be their words. Now, there's been floating around by the left this topic of potential election irregularities, and Biden gave a speech moments ago, and he's tried to shut that down, that this proves Trump winning, that there's no, well, maybe he's shutting that down for his side. But if you hear somebody in the Democrat side and on the left, and they want to make a claim about election irregularities, there was cheating or whatever their BS propaganda is going to be about why Queen Bee Kamala lost, it is your job to call them an insurrectionist. If they're going to make trouble, I say we throw them in the same jail that the J6 prisoners are in. But getting back to the point, what you need to understand and why I'm bringing this up, because there's going to be legislative battles ahead. People like AOC and the Squad and Bernie Sanders and Chuck Schumer, they're still in the Senate. AOC and her squad's in the House. And we still have some rhinos there. They're there. They're part of the team. Occasionally, they need our help. That's why you have to keep them accountable. They need our help to remember that they are supposed to have backbones in these fights. And you've got to make your voice heard. You've got to put the pressure, not just on our team, but on the left. And I'm not talking about threats, because this is a democratic republic. This is make your voice heard and tell them you're going to be up for election in 2 years. I'm not forgetting. I'm going to make your life miserable. I'm going to go into your district and I'm going to start organizing, because that's the pressure. If today you start organizing in the district of AOC, and Bernie Sanders just won re-election, so don't waste your time there, but Chuck Schumer could be up for re-election soon, and you start going to their states and their districts, and you field candidates right now against these leftists, and you make sure their candidacies start off with proper funding, it's a great way to make sure that people are held accountable that are currently serving. Because they, on the left, don't seem to get it, that Trump's bromance with the men of America is what sent him to the White House with a mandate. Because Kamala, she had her white guys for Kamala movement. You know, if you didn't notice, it only succeeded in doing one thing. It got her 86% of the LGBT vote. That should work really well for her in retirement. And then you had Barack Obama waving his fingers in the face of black men, trying to shame them somehow into supporting her. We know what the result of that was. So now it's time to make sure that we don't succumb to the false rhetoric of unifying the country that you're going to hear mostly from the left. They're going to try to pretend to be dignified and gracious, and they're losing. And then they'll do what Kamala did yesterday. They'll say we're continuing the fight. Because one of the things, if Kamala is going to remain the leader of the left and the leader of the Democrat Party, you'll notice that in her speech yesterday, she did not grant them permission to unify the country. She did not grant them permission to accept Donald Trump as their president. She did not grant them permission to work with Republicans and conservatives to make America great. She didn't do that. It's another example of her hypocrisy. If you want to get the economy better and you want to fix this country, right? I'm not encouraging you to go to your leftist friends and shove this in their face. The best thing we could do is, as I've just mentioned, is we're going to hold our side accountable, and we're going to hold their side accountable. And we're going to help our side fix the economy and make it better. And we're going to help our side. That means Donald Trump and the Republicans in charge. We're going to get inflation down, and we're going to get the border secured, and we're going to get our communities safer. And when the GOP delivers on these promises, you can then start your conversations with your lefty friends and family. And you could persuade them to reconsider their thoughts on Donald Trump, get over their emotions, put their common sense head on, and say, look at the numbers, look at the facts. Because if we deliver on the promise, we show them the results and how those results benefit them. Because remember what I said to you earlier in this episode, It's all about showing voters and consumers, why should I care? And if you can answer that question for them, it's going to work. And that's how we're going to convince the other side to join us. Okay. And what they're perceiving is the dark side, but we know it's the side of people who adhere to the Constitution. And it's not going to happen. We're not going to have any chance of making this happen if the GOP fails. And so Kamala supporters, they're going to be working overtime to keep our side from succeeding. That's why you can't give up yet. That means the gains that Donald Trump made with Latino men, the gains he made with black men, the gains he made in the Jewish community, except for Jewish women who apparently still voted for Kamala. Okay, I don't understand. That's what we call a shunda. It's your job to work hard to make sure we pass the America First agenda and that our side delivers and prevents the left from stopping us. Because they know, okay, the Kamala supporters in D.C. know that Donald Trump and the GOP are going to try to run the ball up the field, okay, in the first 100 days and score. And they're going to do everything they can in their power to obstruct those efforts. They're going to try to prevent everything from happening that Donald Trump promised. And they're going to try to make Donald Trump look bad in the process. And they're going to use their friends in the media to try to make Donald Trump look bad. And you know the one thing they're going to do, because they have perfected it, is calling Donald Trump names and lying about it. They're going to lie, and obstruct, and resist. And your job is to cut through the bullshit and make sure our side delivers. You, the Rally for the Republic listener, and every patriot you know must help to make sure the left fails. The resistance must fail. I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to give you my final parting words of the day for this, the 50th episode of Rally for the Republic.
You are listening to Rally for the Republic with your host, Bryan Rudnick.
So as we end today's episode of Rally for the Republic, I'm pointing out two things. You've heard me say it. It's the 50th episode. Feels like it's a big milestone. Some shows obviously have a lot more episodes, but this has taken a lot to get here, and I want to thank those of you who've encouraged me to do the show. It is truly a heartfelt thanks, because I know there are many of you out there who have told me you have mustered the time and energy to never miss an episode. I really appreciate the fact that you care enough about me and what I have to say to listen. I hope you realize that in every episode, I am putting in all the energy and I'm leaving it all on the field. Okay? So thank you for listening to whatever episode you listen to, but a special thanks to those of you, and you know who you are, that you listen to every single episode. And like those of you who fought for the Republic, who desperately wanted to take back our country, I'm smiling and you should be smiling. But unlike some of you who I've seen online, I've seen you in the chat groups, I've seen you on social media, I've seen you post something to the effect of, I'm finally proud to be an American, or I'm proud to be an American again. I saw that. Some people posted it. And I'm going to tell you, you're either proud to be an American or you're part of the left. Michelle Obama talks like that. AOC talks like that. People who are committed to our constitutional republic do not talk like that. You're right. You are proud to be an American. Sometimes you might be disappointed in our leaders or those who put themselves before the country. But like our founding fathers, if you want to keep this republic, you've got to fight for it. You've got to be willing to sacrifice for it. But to fight for it, you have to believe in the idea of American exceptionalism. Donald Trump's campaign has embodied that. It has tried to remind us of that, okay? And it doesn't mean it's perfect. It's not. There's not perfect here, okay? It just means that we are the most amazing nation with the most amazing system that allows people from all walks of life, race, religion, color, creed, anywhere in the world to obtain the American dream, or a chance to obtain the American dream. So your job and my job is to keep the left from obstructing it. I'm Bryan Rudnick, and I thank you for listening to the 50th episode of Rally for the Republic. As always, this podcast is for America. It's America for the Americans. It's not for the rest of them, okay? It's not for those of them with their pronouns and their desire to resist and obstruct. It's America for the Americans. So I ask you to continue to join us and Rally for the Republic. Engage with us. Feedback at rallyfortherepublic.com. As always, please remember to download, share, and like us. The more you share and like us, and of course, give us 5 stars in whatever platform you're on, the longer I can continue to broadcast these episodes. My friends, my family, my advertisers really appreciate it when you do that. So please do it. But most importantly, you know that if you know me, you know I am true to the cause, and I'm going to encourage you to always stay in the fight, never give up on our republic, because on Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, you woke up and realized the benefits of staying in the fight. So I'm Bryan Rudnick, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you for joining us on Rally for the Republic, where we are fighting for America's future. Visit 1776coalition.com. Rally for the Republic podcast is available on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and download. Join Bryan Rudnick next time as we continue to fight for the American way of life and challenge the hypocrisy. This is Rally for the Republic.